Hey everyone, for today's video I'll be doing a guide of sorts for Water Summoner's Road. It took me a little while for stage 5 since I don't have a strong AoE crit buffing magic unit besides Ainz, but jumping right into it, starting with stage 1. Like all Summoner's Road, this one is the easiest. It has next to nothing actually happening, so try to nuke it with your units, preferably luck units so that you can fill your luck gauge. But for anyone actually caring for the mechanics, the arts of the boss, its skill can either poison or freeze, and its art stacks damage every use. Then at 50% it boosts the art's fill speed. So basically you just speed through it and bring some freeze resist or cleanse since that can be a bother. Some heals would take care of the poison, but from there it shouldn't be too bad with an okay DPS. As for stage 2, the boss has reflection resist, no water damage reduction, does increased damage to burned enemies, and each skill burns or poisons, while the art stacks damage with each use, and then at 50% it boosts its art's fill speed. This is basically the same as the first stage, albeit a bit more annoying since the only ones doing noticeable damage here are water units. So try to bring some water units as well as some sort of burn or poison resist since the boss increases his damage to burning enemies. But include some heals or a tank and the rest should be pretty easy. As for stage 3, it has reflection, lifesteal, and art drain resist as well as light killer, so you may want to hold off on using light units. The boss's skill lowers your team's skill CT, and each art will either burn, boost your team's damage taken, or inflict disease. Every 20% HP each threshold will reduce damage from a certain race, starting with humans, then gods, and then demons, whereas the last two will just boost his crit rate and art's gauge fill speed. Additionally, at each threshold, the boss will use Halo's Meteor and disease the team, so be sure to bring resist for it, otherwise it can get very annoying. Make sure to bring a good amount of healing, some damage resist, as well as a competent DPS and you should be fine. Although if you're able to get a DPS that isn't a god, human, or demon, it'll help you a bit for the last two thresholds since they wouldn't have any damage reduction. Units like Dead Master or High Elf Archer are good examples, although high DPS demons work too, such as Shaltir. But aside from that, the boss doesn't hit too hard. Just be sure you're able to heal from the disease or have a unit like Vox increasing the team stats so that you don't actually need to cleanse the disease. But after that, you move on to stage 4. For stage 4, it just starts with regular mobs. They don't really do anything too special. Just use them to start your team. As for wave 2, it's on Gordo, and it has reflect resistance, as well as non-earth damage reduction. It also has a skill that lowers your team's attack, and an arts that freezes your team. At 70% and 30% HP, they boost their arts gauge fill speed. Nothing too bad overall, just get rid of him quickly before he becomes too annoying. Nuking him would be the best with a War God Fen super art. After that is wave 3 with Tundra Ara Graxis. It has reflect, lifesteal, and art drain resist. He also takes increased damage while diseased, so units like Karama or Asus would work pretty good here. His skills can either freeze or boost the damage he does to you, whereas his art's Ice Blue Rain lowers your team's max HP and his art Hellfrost cancels damage nullification. Every threshold, the boss will use Hellfrost and then nuke you with continuously strong attacks by boosting his damage, crit rate, and arts gauge fill speed at different intervals, so be sure to watch out before they become too much to handle. Make sure you bring high damage resist to deal with it, like a tank or high damage resist buffer like Fatoria or Shiro. After that is going to be stage 5 and it'll start with the mob Skilla. It takes increased magic damage, so bring a magic DPS to finish them quickly. Their skill lowers your team's skill CT, and their art Maelstrom lowers your team's status element resist. You can only kill one at a time, so be sure to have a magic damager that can kill them fast, since the lowering of status element resist can get annoying. On wave 2 is Alvina. She has reflect resist as well as increased damage to frozen and diseased enemies. Her skill has a chance to freeze as well as her art Icicle Raid. Her art Violet Dragoon inflicts disease, and at each threshold, she'll activate that art. So be sure to watch out for the disease and you can cleanse if you want, but it isn't too bad if you're running a tank. Then moving on to wave 3, it has Tundra Asteria. It has reflect, lifesteal, and arts gauge down resist, as well as taking increased damage from fire units and being diseased. So if you can, try to bring either fire units or units that can disease, obviously. Its skill either it has a chance to inflict freeze or boost its damage. Its art Frost Stream inflicts freeze guaranteed and boosts damage to your team, as well as lowering your freeze resist every time. At every threshold, it will also use Absolute Zero, which I believe does the same as Frost Stream. It also summons mobs from stage 1 increasingly with each threshold, so be sure to watch out for those as well. Just make sure you have your defense equips up and you should be fine. At the 70% threshold, it'll increase its crit resist, so be sure to have a way to get through that, either by having a crit buffer and crit resist debuffer, or having a unit with innate crit ran with a crit buffer or crit resist debuffer. At 50% HP, it'll increase its arch gauge fill speed. Not too bad, but watch out for the increased damage to your team. At 30%, it'll get HP auto recovery, so make sure you're dealing enough damage to kill the boss really quickly. Otherwise, it'll out-heal all the damage you're dealing to it. At 0%, it'll activate another nuke, so be sure to have your defense equips up. And as long as you can tank the hit, you're finally finished with stage 5. This Summoner's Road wasn't too bad for the most part. Stage 5 was the most annoying since a lot of the comps used to defeat it include a lot of limited units, so I had to make use with what I had. Generally speaking though, a mixture of Miranda, Ainz, Fire Orville, Liza, or Ilia would be used here since it's fairly easy and it's a fast clear with high magic damage. But considering I don't have Ilia or Fire Orville, my magic damage was much more limited. But for anyone with them, they should be fine. Let me know down below if you have any questions about any of the stages. If you did enjoy the guide, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and I'll see you later.